Okay, before we go to today's guest, I have some news that I'm sort of excited about.
Okay.
After quite a long time of not DJing, I'm going to start DJing again.
Okay.
But in a very specific way, time and place.
Okay.
So the first DJ event I'll be doing will be on October 29th at a little bar in Hollywood called Gold Diggers. Mm-hmm. And I'll be DJing with Raul Campos from KCRW, an good old friend of mine. But here's where hopefully it gets interesting. I'll be DJing on October 29th at 2 p.m. until 6 p.m.
Party animal.
So it's a Sunday afternoon. It's sort of in the tradition of Sunday afternoon disco tea parties. There was this, and still goes on, where there was like a long tradition of after parties that would happen on Sundays for people who'd been up all night. In this case, I assume most people who go won't have been up all night from the night before. I just love the idea of doing something in the middle of the day. So you walk in like it's a bright sunny day and you walk inside and there's this underground dance music event happening.
I love it.
But there's more. Ready?
Yeah.
Okay, so the more is it's only $5.
Love that.
Because it just seems like we live in this world where people charge so much money for tickets. And like going out to a concert in some cases is like a week's salary for people. So Raul and I are DJing, $5 to get in. That's it.
It's a low price.
And here's where hopefully it gets even better.
Oh my God.
All the money that comes in the door, all the people giving their $5 is going to go to a charity started by our next guest.
By Gwenna Hunter.
So Gwenna Hunter, who we're going to talk to in just a minute, she's this super inspiring animal rights activist and vegan who has one of the only vegan food banks in Los Angeles. And I love what she's doing and her commitment to it and her approach to it. So all the money that comes in on October 29th when Raul Campos and I are DJing is going to go to Gwenna Hunter's vegan food bank. So the quick recap from what I just said, October 29th, 2 p.m. to 6 p.m., me DJing with Raul Campos, $5 to get in at Gold Diggers in East Hollywood. And the only other thing I would mention, sorry for just rambling on, but boy, oh boy, I'm excited and I've had coffee, is musically, it's going to be a very eclectic approach to dance music.
Like what?
So some house music, some soul, some R&B, some dance hall reggae, some old funk, some disco and post-disco. So very, not just one-dimensional dance music, like a really broad, eclectic approach to dance music.
That sounds so fun.
Also historically eclectic, like songs from 2 weeks ago and songs from 50 years ago.
I love that. That sounds like an amazing time, especially for an afternoon. I feel like it's such a nice approach to know that you're going to get variety. You just came from brunch. Your tummy's a little full. You want to dance it off. And you want to have that, like, maybe a little bit of soul. We'll get a different group out onto the dance floor right now.
Yes, I love your enthusiasm and I am grateful for it because I'm really excited to do this. Hopefully it works out. And also Gwenna, who we're about to talk to, she'll be there, and in between Raul's DJ set and my DJ set, she's going to come out and talk to the audience, and maybe if people feel inspired, they can donate money in addition to the $5 it costs to get in.
And I hope that they do, because honestly, Gwenna, who we will talk to, who you will hear this conversation in a few moments, Gwenna is one of the most beautiful humans. She has this deep spiritual approach to a compassionate way of living, and it's so inspiring. And what she's done with her life, which is start this vegan food bank in Los Angeles, I mean, it's moving. She's a fantastic human being, and supporting vegans of LA is a really freaking cool thing to do, Mo.
Yeah, so how about we go talk to Gwenna now?
Yeah, I'm so excited for everyone to meet her.
Okay, let's go talk to Gwenna. Hi, Gwenna.
Hi, Gwenna.
Hello.
So before we started recording, you guys were having all sorts of very interesting, very esoteric conversations, and I don't want to stop the conversation, but also selfishly, I want to know more about where you come from. And so can I ask just some very basic biographical questions?
Yes.
Which seems like a disservice because I love how esoteric and,
We can go back.
nuanced the conversation is.
I feel like it will be available when we're ready for it again.
Yeah, I'm charged up. I'll bring it back.
Okay. So just simply, I love knowing about people. Like, where were you born? Where did you grow up? What were things like when you were growing up? If you can walk us through childhood up until, let's say, around 20 or thereabouts.
Okay. So I was actually born in a little teeny, weeny town called Greensboro, Alabama. Very rural. You can probably walk through it in about 25 minutes. Everybody's either related or date. Like, it's just one of those towns. And that's where my mom grew up. Very kind of, my grandparents, and I appreciate it so much now. They've passed, but I didn't appreciate it as a kid. But they recycled. They grew their own food, their own fruits, vegetables. They did have some animals, and they lived like off the grid. And growing up, I couldn't stand it. But now it's like, oh, I get it. They were the real environmentalists back then. So fast forward maybe a year or two, and my mom is in Cleveland, Ohio, and that's where I was raised, in Cleveland, Ohio, until about 2003. I grew up with my mom. I had a stepdad that was paranoid schizophrenic. That was interesting. I think that helped me create so much awareness because I was always like on alert, because as a child, deep down, I understood there something was off. And so I could always feel when it was going to trigger. And so when I would sense that something's about to trigger this other aspect, it would make me shift my energy. So I was always on alert.
Can I interrupt for 1 second?
Yes.
Because I grew up around some mentally ill people. And I don't know if you ever had this experience where I would be walking home from school and I would be a quarter mile away from my house and I'd be like, oh, something's wrong. Mm-hmm. Like you develop this sort of like self-protective radar. You're like, okay, I'm not like I don't remember ever walking into my house being surprised at what was going on.
Yeah.
So
like a hyper awareness.
Just kind of like you sense this vibration from hundreds of yards or even like further away, like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
Someone is decompensating. Someone's unstable. Someone's angry. There's a fight going on. There's a something going on. So I don't know if you ever had that experience.
Yeah, because you were probably psychic and in tuned. And so you knew something and you knew how to tap into that energy. That's how I was too. Like I would know, it would just even be something as simple as like, okay, he's overexerting himself. He's sweating. I would know it's going to come on shortly. But yeah, I walked home from school, I grew up in the 70s. So it's like, we walked like 3 miles, like really did. We did walk like a lot. So the closer I would get to home, and I think it's because the magnetic energy, the force field, you start to pick up like, okay, there's something going on at my house, or this is this. And so, yeah, I know exactly what you mean. And so, yeah, because my solace was dreams. So like I got a lot of my information, even as I remember dreams when I was 4 years old. I would get a lot of information about dreams. I would see like dark demonic figures in the house, like all types of like weird stuff that I would get. But anyhow, that was until I was like about 12, and then they divorced. And then that's around the time I started getting into like reading about like near-death experiences. My mom had shared a story with me about her seeing a dead relative when she was a kid. And I was like, I knew there was something. Like, I was like just waiting for somebody to share something. And so that just really got me into that. So I was always on this like searching for what the truth is. Like, I was always like, I'm going to figure you out. Remember Miss Butterworth? Mm-hmm. I thought she was real. So I would be like, you can go ahead and talk. Like, I would talk to like, it would just be me and her. And I'm like, it's okay. It's just me and you. You can do this. So I would like
to be fair, the cartoon, Lindsay, was Miss Butterworth before your time?
No, I was very familiar. I mean, I definitely created my own relationships with the many cartoon characters.
But like Miss Butterworth seemed so welcoming and kind, and like I was like, oh, I want to be related to Mrs. Butterworth. Yeah.
That syrup was just, God knows what was in it. It was probably all corn syrup.
It was all sugar.
I loved it so. Oh my God, I loved it.
Yeah, I remember the first time I had real maple syrup, I was horrified. I was like, this is not maple syrup. I want Mrs. Butterworth. I want log cabin. I want something
not log cabin.
Yeah. I just want something that tastes sweet, like maple syrup.
Right, you need that diabetes.
Yeah. Oh, I love going to IHOP and just pouring all the syrups over those stacks of disgusting pancakes. Yeah. So sorry, we digress. Yeah.
So yeah, I would look at life like kind of from that lens. I was always ready for the supernatural to like pop off at any time. And I remember watching, I think it was Damien or something. It was some movie, and the kid was like telekinetic or whatever. And so I still want that, to be honest with you. And so like I would try to like make things move with my mind, and like I was just really into all this like really supernatural stuff. So fast forward to an adult. Yeah, I'm growing up in Cleveland, Ohio, and I left probably in 2003. I was working for a really popular urban radio station at the time, doing marketing and sales and writing commercials and stuff like that, and loved it. And I was like, there were people that I went to kindergarten with, that I worked with. I was like, I'm just so tired of seeing like the same people all the time. I want to see another part of the world. I ended up getting a job offer in Miami, Florida, moved out there, and it was like such a culture shock. It was like I went from Black, white, and a sprinkle of other to everybody. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know how to handle it. It was almost kind of stressful to me because I was seeking other, like, you know, Black people, and I would see somebody Black and then they speak Spanish, or I see somebody Black and they're speaking French. I'm like, well, where the damn Black people? Like, I was just like looking for like, you know, a connection or whatever. And I had a hard time embracing like the culture because it was just so overwhelming. And people kept asking me, what are you? And I'm like, I'm Black. And they're like, well, no, but what are you? And I was like, I've never had anybody ask me that before. And I'm like, damn, this is fucked up. I don't know, you know, and I never even really explored the question. And so moving to Miami, Florida, it made me dig deeper. And I went there. I always say I went there a girl and left there a woman. That's when I felt like I started like activating. I felt really psychic when I was living there. I felt very intuitive. I don't know if it's a combination of the sun and the ocean and all the different elements, but it really activated my spiritual senses. But I wasn't vegan there yet. I was just, you know, going through life's journeys and paths. And I went from Miami to Charlotte, North Carolina after 5 years. And I lived in Charlotte, North Carolina for 5 years. And I did a stint in Dallas, Texas for a year with a job. And then I did Atlanta, Georgia for a quick minute, came to Los Angeles to visit, and ended up never leaving. I wanted to leave, but I kept getting this strong voice telling me, not yet, you're supposed to be here. And it was so strong. And during that time, I was going through like poverty. Like I went from abundance to poverty in a very short period of time. And I couldn't wait to leave, but something just kept saying, don't leave, you're supposed to be here. And so I knew I needed to trust, because every time I hear that voice, it's never wrong. So February of 2016 is when my life took a whole new direction. And it was from a dream that I had. And so in the dream, I'm flying in the sky, and I see this really beautiful green pasture and this really beautiful cow in the pasture. And I look down, and she looks up at me. And when she looks at me, it was almost like there were like these two like tunnels. And I felt like I went through it. And when I did, we merged and became one. And I had all of her consciousness. And I was the cow. So we merged and became one. I always wonder if she became me, but I know I became her for sure. And in the experience, like her life like flashed before me, and I possessed every aspect of her: childbirth, children, how she felt about humans, like everything she had experienced as her own being, I experienced it too. And so when I came out of the dream, I was like crying, because I was like, oh my God, cows love? Because that was like the most profound thing that I felt, was her love and her nurturing. Like it was very pure. And I'm like, oh my God, cows love, and we eat them? It never dawned on me in all of my like searching and being spiritual and all this other shit. Like it never even crossed my mind that a cow or a pig or a chicken had awareness. I just was like, okay, their bodies on feet. And even though they move and give birth, like I never even questioned it. And at the time I was vegetarian, but not for any ethical reasons. One thing happened during my journey is I couldn't eat cows anymore. Like I would try to eat, I was eating like corned beef sandwiches or steaks or stuff like that. And I would have the most violent reaction in my body. And so that I think was like the first like start, like you're going to be saving us. You can't be eating us, you know, but I didn't know what was going on at the time. My body just wouldn't take it. And so I'm crying. I'm just like, oh my God, as much as I'm a believer, I also allow myself to be a skeptic too. Like, okay, what just happened here? Like, is this real? Because, you know, that's a huge awakening to have, like coming out of your sleep that animals are conscious. And like, it was a lot for me to process. So I was just like, did this really happen? Did I just eat something weird? Was this real? And as I'm like laying in the bed awake, I feel like all of a sudden I felt like this warm, felt like a heater, like there was like a really soft heater that somebody put like right over my chest. And I'm looking and I'm like, what the heck? And then I put my hand on it. And when I put my hand on it, I was like paralyzed with like the most supreme peace. It was warm, but it wasn't like sitting under a lamp or like a heater warm. It was like this unconditional love warm, and it was quiet and it was soft and it was safe. And I felt like I could have just checked out and like, I'd have been like, bye Earth. Like I'm going wherever this is. I'll hang out here. Like, nice knowing you all. Like if I'd had that option, I would have taken it because that's how beautiful it felt. And maybe it lasted for maybe 5 seconds. And when it stopped, I could feel like a tingle on me. And I was like, okay, that was the cow giving me a piece of her, like letting me know this was real. And then because of that experience, like within the next 24 to 48 hours, I came across Aaron Janice's video, Dairy is Effing Scary. And when I saw that, I was like, are you really fucking kidding me? Because I thought farmer sits in his blue jean overall, sits on the stump, he milks her, she says moo, gives her milk. I thought it was a mutual beneficial experience. But when I saw what was going on and I saw the machines hooked up to her teats, and I saw her running after her calf when they take her child, her in they're calling those rape racks. And I saw like all this stuff. I didn't think this poor cow. I thought like this poor woman. To me, she was like another part of she was a female. She was a woman. And I was like, this is the same blueprint that was used for slavery. Same exact blueprint. Because taking your children from you, not giving you, there was no separation in my mind. And I'm glad it happened like that because, you know, sometimes we separate and we're like, oh, don't say this and don't say that. And I've been a part of all that stuff. But the truth is that blueprint, it works, you know, convincing the human population that this person isn't worthy. This person came to this planet to be here for you. They're put here for you to do what you want. You can take their child. It's okay. You can do what you want with their body, their labor. You commodify them. Like, it's the same blueprint. And like argue with me on it. It's the same exact blueprint.
I mean, hearing you say it, like I agree with you. As a cisgendered white man who's also a white Anglo-Saxon Protestant, like when people talk about the Holocaust, I'm just going to sit here and listen.
Yeah.
When people talk about slavery, I'm like, you know what? I don't know what that experience would be like. I'm going to sit here and listen. But like the logic you're using, you know, like it just makes so much sense.
But I want to address you being a white cisgender Protestant male and not being able to say these things. And I just wanted to say, you know, in case, you know, what people are, how they may feel listening to this, that's because the triggers are still so very sensitive. And I believe at some point, I don't know this lifetime or next, but we'll get to a point where we can talk freely where a white cisgender male can say this and the triggers aren't there. But because of the sensitivity and trauma and unhealed wounds and work that needs to be done, I didn't even share that part of it for a while when I was first in the movement. I didn't even share about my dream the first 2 years that this is why I went vegan, because I saw certain people discount spiritual experiences. And then I would hear people say, oh, you can't compare this. Like even Black people, I would hear, you know, don't do the comparison, don't do that. But I'm like, this is my fucking truth. And whatever's my truth is, even if it's a little bit ahead of the curve, it's my truth. And it took me a while to like stand in the power of that and to be honest and to start sharing my own story because I didn't want to get canceled and come up against, all this stuff. But now I'm kind of starting not to give a damn.
Well, that's one of the reasons we were really excited to talk to you further. Because when we first met you, the spiritual component of your experience is so powerful. I mean, we love talking to activists. We love talking to intelligent people. We love talking to compassionate people. But the spiritual dimension of your experience is really fascinating. So I'm glad that you're not keeping your light under a bushel.
But also how connected you are to the emotional experience of your activism. I think a lot of people have to keep it separate because the emotional side of it is so hard. And I know I have to turn that side off because I get so sad, so mad, so just overwhelmed sometimes. And you manage to keep it all together where you can have your emotions about it and still stay driven and focused.
But not all the time. There's sometimes I get emotional. I remember having a conversation at an event where I spoke at, and I forget what the topic was, but I was explaining like how I give, because I've had to go through different journeys of how I talk to people about animal activism and rights and this, that, and the other without getting cussed out and kicked out of places and things like that. And what I was really trying to tell people was that, you can go vegan because of logic. Like it connects people on different reasons. For me, the spiritual part, like, knocked me to the floor. If somebody would have gave me a book to read or something, it may not have done much. Maybe if I would have saw a video, maybe that would have helped. But if someone gave me some statistics or some science behind it, that may not have penetrated me, but it penetrated me through what's active in my spirit. When this happened, I was like, all I gotta do is just tell people my dream. All I gotta do is just tell people, oh, they love. That's it. I'm about to fix this whole thing right now by just telling people that animals love their children and that they're conscious. And that was further from the truth. And so what I've understood is that it's kind of like an awakening or an activation. And so some people may get activated by hearing you talk about it. Some people are, logical. They want to see the numbers. Okay, then that makes sense to me. I'll go vegan. Some people want to hear about the health aspect because that may relate to them more, and that may cause an activation. So it's just based on whatever is alive in that person, more active is how you penetrate that. And so that helped me to not take it personal because I went through that, being judgmental, being a mean vegan for a little bit because I was just so pissed off at the fact that I had been lied to and trusted the schools to tell me I need to get my protein from steak and not this and that. And then I'm finding all this stuff and I'm like, who in the hell is running this ship? Who's creating these so I started just having all these different and just my top being blown off and learning that the meat and dairy industry and they fund the public schools and this. And I'm like, wait. So I was pissed off for the first 4 months. I was posting slaughter videos on Facebook, this must stop and all this other stuff. And then I realized I was alienating people. And I'm like, okay, I want to be effective. Let me calm it down. Let me tone it down. And I'm more effective with love anyhow. The anger makes me exhausted and it's distracting. And then you attract people that want to argue with you because they see that you're an easy target and they can get some attention from you. And so I realized that's not the route for me. I'm more of a lover. So let me go the love route. But I remember speaking at an event to all animal rights activists at this event. And I was talking about using compassion in your conversations when you're speaking with strangers, a way to do it without it being about race and color. One of the guys was like, love is not going to fix this. And he was telling me you got to use, you got to hit people where it hurts. You got to hit them hard and you got to this and you got to use logic. A lot of people you see a lot of celebrities that go vegan because of logic or it's popular. And then they turn around and they're back to eating animals again. But when you get somebody in the heart, when you help that part open up and that part expands, I feel like you have a vegan for life. You have somebody that's in it for the win. Anyway, after this conversation, so many vegans, and most of them were white, were coming up to me. They were like, thank you for saying that. I want to be spiritual and I want to talk about love. But the group that I'm around, they'll get upset or people don't. I was shocked by how many people were secretly coming up to me saying, I feel the same way, but I don't feel safe talking about love around other animal rights activists. And I'm like, this is absolutely crazy because love, the lack of love is why we're in this position to begin with.
You reminded me of Ellie, who runs Gentle Barn.
Okay.
Ellie Lax.
So the first time I went to Gentle Barn, she did something so strategic that sort of proved your point. It was a Saturday afternoon. There were all these people waiting in line to get in. And some guy in line was making jokes because you could see the cows. And he was like, burgers. And he looked over and he saw some pigs. And he was like, I'm going to, it makes me think of hot dogs. I wanted to like yell at him and maybe even like get in a shoving match in the parking lot. Like, I was so mad at this guy. And Ellie walked over and said to him and smiled and said, "Oh, sir, I'm sorry that's all you see when you look at a cow. Like what I see is like a mother, who's capable of love. But I'm sorry that you can't see that." And this guy was transformed.
Wow.
Like he was like instantly, you could tell like she had ninja style, like
she disarmed him.
Yeah, like
absolutely.
I wanted to go up and like, again, being an angry white guy from Connecticut, like I want to go over and like get in his face and be like, "How dare you? You're the problem." In which case he would have gotten defensive. We wouldn't have gotten in a fight because I'm a big sissy, but like nonetheless, she proved to me like, oh, responding to hate with love isn't just a greeting card, it's strategy.
Yes.
And it's effective strategy. Look at Martin Luther King Jr. or Gandhi. Like you respond to violence with love, with compassion, with understanding. You don't lie down and let people necessarily hurt you, ideally, but your point really, reminded me of like the people who can do that are the saints.
But also it sees that his behavior, that guy's behavior on that day was an internal problem with him. He has some unresolved anger, some that has turned into toxicity or some trauma that has turned into, that's how he protects himself from the scary world around him. Yeah. And one little switch of perspective can heal something.
Yes.
That's maybe closer to the surface than anyone would care to believe.
It's like spiritual chiropractic.
Yeah, I think so.
Like an adjustment that all of a sudden everything changes as a result of it.
Yeah.
But it's different with everyone, like the spiritual side of it. I once, a long time ago, did an energy healing course. And 2 people came out of it unable to eat meat after that because it connected them with they became so sensitive to feelings. And they told me that during the course of that thing, they had tried to eat meat and it made them feel sick because they could feel or were more connected with that animal's pain and suffering.
Wow.
2 people from that program.
You need to continue doing that type of work.
Yeah, it was beautiful.
It does make me think, and I'm really thrilled that you're here and we're talking about this, that we'll call it like the non-quantifiable spiritual aspect of existence. And what's fascinating is the quantum realm is all this. You were talking earlier about like the power of words and self-talk to actually transform you. So in the quantum realm, that happens.
Yes.
Observing light, you can determine whether it's a particle or a wave.
Yes.
Like there is the power of thought, the power of words. But it's so interesting that like we don't trust, like when 2 + 2 doesn't equal 4, people immediately point their finger and say, "You're a witch, we need to burn her."
Yes. Yes. Oh,
or you're crazy and we don't trust you, instead of saying, maybe I can open up my mind a little bit.
That's right. Or
maybe more than one thing can be true.
That right there, that's something I've been into a lot lately, is like, we're always forced to like make a choice. It has to be A or B. And then you're like, okay, this, that. But both can be true at the same time. And I'm learning that with so many different things. And it's like with the anger, there's still an angry vegan in here. Like she's in there and she wants to sometimes fight and cuss people out and stuff like that. But I manage her because I know that that's not going to, like, I'm not trying to win anything. Yeah. And so like I've had to learn over the years how to have conversations with people. First talk I ever gave, I was working for Vegan Outreach, and I was at a library in Watts, and we were feeding people, and it was like my first time getting ready to talk, and I was already like shaking, having like internal anxiety. And I'm just like, oh my God. And they were already looking at me like, what are you about to talk about? And I was terrified. And of course, my worst fear came true because I'm talking about animal rights, which I did it that way. And you're in a community of people that, you know, struggling to pay the bills, keep the lights on, eat. And you're talking about the rights of animals. They don't want to hear this shit. You know, they're like, what the hell do I want to hear about that for? I just got arrested for something crazy. And, you know, they don't want to hear that. So I got cursed out and the guy went off on me and I handled it and brought it back in. But I was terrified after that. And so I had to learn how to have these conversations. And so one of the things that I like to say when I'm talking to people of any background is, it's a very universal conversation. I usually like to start off and ask people, has anyone ever experienced any form of trauma or suffering in their life? And, you know, if you're an adult, most people have experienced some type of suffering or some type of trauma in their life. Has anyone lost autonomy of their body? Has anyone ever been abused? Has anyone ever been taken advantage of? Has anyone, you know, been mentally or physically abused? And so it kind of puts people in a different type of state. And then, you know, I let people know, too, that to help disarm people, because I usually will ask people, like, what they know about vegans. Oh, they're judgy and preachy. And, like, there's always these judgments about us because sometimes we do go into places a little preachy and judgy. And so to kind of disarm people or just to help them surrender their hearts just a little bit, you know, I'll remind them, like, yeah, I ate all of it, too. I loved it, you know, just to kind of let people know, like, I'm a real person and I was just like you. I wasn't born vegan. And I'll tell them, like, you know, with these animals, like, we eat like the way we like consume, like we eat their arms and we eat their legs and we eat their butts and we eat their breasts. Like, can't we actually eat somebody's breasts? We put somebody's breasts on a plate and we eat it and we're told that this is healthy. We eat their necks. Then we go inside their bodies and then we eat their organs and we eat their livers, we eat their hearts, and then we take their ribs out of their body and then we barbecue their ribs and put sauce on them. I'm like, that's crazy, right? You know, people are looking at me, they're like, oh my God, this is like completely, like the way you're looking, like it's completely disgusting. But it's like, no one can ever argue with me because I'm just saying what we do. And then I'm like, and then after we're done, you know, eating their butts and legs and feet and hands and all that stuff and eating their hearts and liver and ribs, then we take the skin off their body and then we like wear them. We make coats out of them. We make shoes and purses. And I'm like, if I didn't know any better, I feel like we were on some type of, you know, this is some type of cult, like some type of blood cult. And then people start like looking at each other and they're like, oh my God, it's actually disgusting, because now it kind of helps wake you up to what we're actually doing on this planet. And it's like, if I wasn't from here and I came to this planet, I'm like, they do what?
There is a theory that there's tons of intelligent spacefaring life in the universe, and they took one look at Earth and they're like, oh, stay away from that place. Like, they will lock you in a cage and they'll eat you. Like,
yes.
So like that the aliens every now and then check in on us, like, have they figured this out?
Right.
That maybe like torturing and killing innocent beings and eating them and wearing their skin is not the best way to live.
Yeah.
So there
I
might
do
be
a drive-by Earth and be like, nope.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, no
they
thanks.
like take a look at our solar system. They're like, well, the rest of it seems interesting, but that one planet where they torture and kill innocent beings and eat them and wear them, let's give that a miss.
Exactly.
Where they cut down their beautiful old growth forests and rainforests so that they can have more blood and skins to wear.
And they kill each other in wars. They actually think they're enemies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They kill each other.
Based on the way, oftentimes, the beliefs that they have about the benign, loving architect of the universe. You know, it's like killing someone because you have a different idea.
But it's also, to forgive a little, it's all we've ever known. It's the world we were born into. It's the world our parents were born into and their parents before. And I think it's such a hefty load to say, let's redo it all. But I think that it's happening in little pieces. Like when I went vegan in Texas in 2005, people were like, vegan? What is what is it? So you can have chicken?
Are you from the planet Veja?
Yeah. Like they didn't know. And now I would say everyone has a near intimate awareness with what it is. So I feel like even in my lifetime, in a chunk of my lifetime, we have all seen change happen.
Yeah.
But it doesn't make it feel any better, because then, you have meaningful conversations like this with people, and then you see them like laughing and giggling over a burger, and it's like, yeah, but that there's other options at least, and that's improvement.
You reminded me, there is that, and I was having this conversation, I've probably name dropped him before, but with Cory Booker after he was elected, is the question of like, because we've lived through huge changes. Mm-hmm. If we were having this conversation 40 years ago, well, granted, Lindsay, you would not have been born. This is true. But at that point, the Soviet Union was there. People smoked on airplanes. Same-sex couples couldn't get married. There were no black senators. There were no black governors. There were no...
Yeah, different world.
Everything was completely different. And so now, like, we've seen radical, huge change. Like, one day, the Soviet Union wasn't there anymore. One day, people couldn't smoke on airplanes. One day, same-sex couples could get married. One day, we had a black president. So it's the question, when does this change? When the way we eat, the way we treat innocent beings, like, when is that change going to happen? Where now we're like, oh, sure, same-sex couples. I mean, unless you're some lunatic Republican
who's trying to overturn that currently.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But when are we going to sort of like look at using animals for food and fashion the way we look at smoking on airplanes?
Yeah.
Like, it might still exist, but boy, it's weird and barbaric, and I can't believe people used to do that.
Yeah.
I will say my mother knows what attachment theory is now. I feel like there is a revolution.
She's also got you, who she talks to every day. So
but I do feel like because of my generation and especially Gen Z, there is like, people are starting to care more about themselves. And I have a deep belief that until humans can figure their own shit out, animals are super boned. Like, until humans can learn.
Was that a pun?
Yes.
Okay.
Like, animals can't thrive, oppressed humans can't thrive until we all can figure out how to treat ourselves better and be more compassionate internally, so that compassion can then turn out. And also how to take care of ourselves in a way so we can be worried about other people. I think a lot of people are so day to day, where am I going to sleep? How am I going to eat? To be concerned about an animal when they don't know how they're going to survive the next day is too much to ask. Yeah. So as we can find more comfort and ease in our lives as humans, I think then we can extend it to animals as well.
I completely agree with that.
About quite a while ago, I went to an animal rights event, and David Carter, the 300-pound vegan, was speaking, and he got in front of this huge audience of basically like white animal rights activists, and he said, look, I gotta tell you, I'm the only black person here, and that's weird. Like, he's like, why is the movement so white? And people are like, yeah, that's a really good question. And then I feel like it's changed. Have you noticed that? And what do you think?
Oh, God, have I noticed? So when I first started out, I created a community called Vegans of LA, and I put it on Facebook and started posting stuff, and it started growing. But it was mostly white women initially. And I didn't know any black vegans like in real life, just like somebody that lived in Maryland or in another state, but I didn't know any in real life. And I remember as I started posting things like, I would feel compelled to post things about animals. And from black people, I would get, oh, this is some white shit, or you must care more about people than, like, the typical boring stuff that people always say, like, oh, you care more about, because I think people weren't sure who ran the page, but I posted mostly things for like black people, recipes and different influencers and things like that. And so sometimes I would feel exhausted from taking the hits. And it'd be like, oh, God, do I want to post today about, what's in my heart? And sometimes I would cower and not do it because I'm like, I don't feel like taking the damn hits today. Mm. And it was just like, golly, why are we lacking so much compassion when it comes to animals? But if I post anything like a recipe or something about health, people would be into it. So I had to realize that people just haven't, at that time, I felt like just haven't expanded their hearts, because I know when I was growing up, you didn't see dogs in a person's house. They considered that nasty. Dogs were usually tied up to trees. They were given scraps from the table. So there wasn't like how I see it now. It was totally different when I was growing up. How
this was in the Deep South?
This was like in Cleveland.
Okay.
in the hood. And so, yeah, animals were like usually left outside or, chained to a tree and, given their food from there or let out for a little bit, but talked to very sternly. So I never really saw that like animals sleeping in the bed with you, them kissing on you, like those things were kind of like taboo, like you don't do that. And so I think a lot of other Black people grew up, very similar. But I started noticing like probably around like 2019 or so, Black people speaking up for animals or agreeing with something. I'm like, oh, the shift is happening. Like now I could post something about an animal and I'm not getting like, now I'm getting cheers instead of all the boos at first in the beginning. It was like, I feel like I was on an island. I'm like, my goodness, like where are the people that actually, well, it's health or it's this. It's like, but you can do all of it. You can actually love an animal and you can love a human too. You don't have to choose. It's not a choice. You don't have to pick one over the other. And so, yeah, seeing that journey. And now it's like, I see so many, especially when I go on social media, so many vegans of color that are talking about animals and that came into the movement because of animals and that are in it for animals, health, the planet, the environment. And so, yeah, just seeing the evolution. But I know when I first got involved in like animal rights and volunteering and everything, there were these two worlds I was in. So, here in LA, the white vegan community kind of like scooped me up and taught me thy ways and, speciesism and things I had never even heard of and all the freaking rules. And you don't eat honey, you don't say pet, you don't do like, it was just like, whoa, goodness, like all these freaking rules. It was like so many different things that I was like learning, but I wouldn't have learned that in the Black vegan community. But in the Black vegan community, once I got involved with that, there was, to me, a little bit more acceptance and more patience of like the journey. Whereas I would see people in the white vegan community at that time, if somebody made a mistake or was in a group and said, oh, I just ate some chicken wings last night. What should I? Oh, you did this? Well, like people would just like pound on them. Or if somebody had a question about honey, you see 500 comments. It's like, why are you the 500 person making a comment? Like, you don't need to go in there and say anything. And so it felt like with white people, I could be vulnerable about animals. With Black people, I could make mistakes or I could be honest about this, that, and the other without getting condemned. So it was like these two worlds where one part I felt accepted, the other part I felt rejected. This part I felt rejected, this side I felt accepted. So I had to like within myself, create my own community acceptance. But the journey was rough in the beginning. But yeah, now I see the movement and not sure if you know this, but this is probably for like the third straight year, could be longer, that African Americans specifically are the fastest growing population to go vegan.
Oh, without question. I mean, I started seeing it when I owned Little Pine. Because it was just sort of a given for the longest time that you would go to a vegan restaurant and it would be very white. It was gender mixed, which was nice, very welcoming, very inclusive. But like veganism was largely a Caucasian thing. And I would say, from my perspective, it was around 2015, 2016, I started noticing this wonderful change. And there's one day at Little Pine when I owned it where like the majority of people in the restaurant were people of color. And I just thought, wow, you would never have seen this. And I went to Real Food Daily one day, and it was the vast majority of people in the restaurant were people of color, like 80%, 20%. And I was just like, oh, so finally, like, the shift has happened. Granted, we're in Los Angeles. It might not be happening elsewhere, but I like being so inspired. Again, like, and I say this qualifying it being an inbred white guy from Connecticut, but like being so inspired by the energy and the passion and the perspective that people of color have, Yeah. I mean, like John Lewis, badass vegan, like his perspective, his energy is so, there's just like a sort of like a joy and fearlessness.
It's very contagious. Yeah.
Like a lot of us white people are just not very good at being joyful or fearless. Like we're all sort of like either like angry or apologizing.
Yeah, which both can be annoying.
Yeah,
yeah, definitely.
Both can be annoying. It's interesting because you said angry or apologize, and it just made me think of a experience, I had created this group at the time. It's not very active now, but I created a group called Vegans for Black Lives Matter right in the height of George Floyd. And I didn't even know why I created the group, because I'm like, I really don't want a group. I don't want to be bothered with people's energy and emotions and creating a group and managing that. But it came to me like a divine like ping to do it. And so I'm like, okay, every time I get this divine ping, I know to just trust it. So I created the group and wasn't going to really do anything with it for like a couple of weeks. But the next day there were like 500 people in the group. The next day it was like 1,000. And next thing I know, there's like, I think at that time, it was like, ended up being like over 4,000 people in the group, pretty much all vegans. And because of all the hostility that was going on between like with George Floyd and all of that, there was so much, and it was mostly white people in the group, there was so much anger and sadness and apologizing and rage. And I'm very like what we call empathic. So I can feel something through the phone. I can read it, if somebody texts it and feel it. So I'm like taking in all this stuff, and it was just so much energy and emotion and so much apologizing. And the apologizing was more toxic than the rage. It was like, please stop apologizing. Just step up, empower yourself. So I just wanted to share that, because when you said those two words together, it brought me back to when the group was in its height, and how toxic over apologizing can be for a situation. So just wanted to share that.
Something I noticed that you keep bringing up is that you are very driven to start communities, start groups, start these movements, because when that was going on, it would have never occurred to me to say, I'm going to start a group for this in my niche, but you seem so driven to do that. A, what do you think drives you to do it? And B, what are some of the other groups that you started, some of your favorites?
Yeah, so when I started the group Vegans for Black Lives Matter, I really can't like give you a beautiful answer, because I really was in opposition of creating the group. I don't know if it's like an ancestor or a guide or my higher self or just a part of me that's activating, because this was meant to be. But one of the purposes that I realized for the group was like we all needed a place to contain our anger and to share our pain and our rage. And this was a safe and also unsafe place to do that. And so I realize now the purpose of why that was necessary, because so many hard conversations were being had in the group, some really ugly conversations, people cussing each other out. I was getting cussed out, kicking people out the group, getting people yelling at me, mad at me, white women in my inbox telling me I'm racist for doing this, like all types of like really hard conversations. And then for me, I had been someone that had been like suppressing my feelings over police brutality or bad treatment of Black people. It's like, I don't want to see it. So I would like see a quick snippet of it on the news and I click off, or I see it on my timeline and I click off, because I'm like, I do not want to feel that, but it was still in me. So having the group, I had to like be honest with myself and like allow myself to like feel and read the article, watch the whole video, process the feelings. And so that was probably like a really empowering and also depressing year, because I cried a lot that year. But I let myself do it because I knew that I needed to like process the pain and the energy and stop suppressing and ignoring stuff and actually go head on and face it. And I think that's probably why so many other people in the group, because they needed to do the same. So it was a place for us to just kind of like deal with our emotions and our energy, and then also, also dealing with what's going on with the animals, because when you really think about that horror story, think about what's happening to an animal right now at a slaughterhouse. It's like, okay, I'm thinking about animals being slaughtered. They're going through this. Then police, like, it was a lot. It was a very, very heavy year. So I've had to learn how to like process this. Even now, like if I go through my timeline, if I see some warning, I'm like, nope, I'm not about to watch that. Even if it's animals or whatever, I pick and choose when I want to like have all that stuff. But, as an activist, most of us that I've experienced, that I've gotten to know, we know what it's like to deal with abuse or trauma or drama or some form of pain. And so that's why we connect so easily with this type of movement and with the animals. And, for me too, it's not just the animals too. It's also like, you're going to liberate the animals, but how are you going to do that when humans have not been liberated? But in a sense, I also say that we are liberated. So I got to figure out how to say this without being canceled, because I don't know if you're going to highlight this or not. But so there's certain words that I've outgrown using for humans, especially for Black people. Because I noticed like in this movement, it's very popular to be put in these different boxes and then put into another box and then another box and another box, meaning like Black, woman, if you're trans, if you're disabled, if like all these different boxes, if you're oppressed, which is probably one of the most popular boxes. And I don't particularly, for myself, if you choose that description, I have no argument with you. But for Gwenna, I do not want to ever be described as oppressed. Nor do I want to be described as marginalized, nor do I want to be described as a minority, keyword minor. And because words matter. And to me, so it's like if you are, like we are an oppressive system, there are things in place where oppression is created. There's obstacles, there's roadblocks to prevent certain people from winning. But to me, the person that's doing that, they're oppressed. There's no reason for me to call myself oppressed. And so I'm not even sure why I'm even going with this. But, you know, once I came to this realization, it was like another level of awakening. Like, wait a minute, why am I letting people call me oppressed? So like I started a vegan food bank last May. And when people ask to like write about the food bank or tell a story about it, I let them know, do not describe the people that come to the food bank as oppressed. Do not describe them as marginalized. Free food is empowering. It's your birthright, first of all. Everybody should be entitled to free food. There should be free food resource centers all over the planet, all over zip code, especially in Los Angeles. So free food shouldn't be a sad thing to where we have to say, oh, these poor people standing in line and blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, I do not allow people to do that if it's under my control. But again, it's like words matter. Like when you strip away all the illusions, all the bullshit, all the uniforms, all the badges, all the titles, all the robes, we're all here as regular ass people on the planet, but we've allowed certain systems in place and we've allowed certain people to take control and do this and rule over and play these different games. But the thing is, we're all one. Like we're all on the same planet together. Like what's the coincidence in that? Like we're all here together. There's so many studies that say like the first person came from Africa, and from that, we're all freaking one. There really is no separation. The separation and you being you and you being you and you being you, you know, that's just part of the game and part of the illusion. But we are one family. We're one team. And I personally believe that planetary unity, which is plug for my new nonprofit, is possible in this lifetime. I didn't think that before. I used to think, it's going to take probably like 10 generations for planetary unity. But all it takes is just a shift in mindset. And unity doesn't mean that you all love each other and like each other and all that. But it means that you come together for a common cause like we do as vegans. Like we know in the vegan world, we do not all like each other. Like we have our drama in this movement. But we do agree on one thing, that we shouldn't be eating animals. That's unity. So if we do more of that in different areas and come together, no one can put us under these programs and illusions. But also, too, I also believe that some of these struggles are part of the game. So I want to share one little quick experience that I had. This was under Aya, and I found myself at a slaughterhouse. And at the slaughterhouse...
So this is a visualization.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Under the plant medicine Aya. And under it, I'm at the slaughterhouse and there's pigs and there's cows and they're all standing in line. And I could tap in. I knew that they were next to be slaughtered. Like they have full awareness. So I started yelling. I'm like, just don't reincarnate. Don't come back here. Like that was my solution. I'm like, just don't come back. Don't come back to the planet. We keep eating you, harming you, hurting you. Just don't come back to the planet. That should solve it. And this pig spoke up and he said, we'll keep coming back until you all figure it out and get it right. We love you that much. And I instantly understood the bigger picture of it all. We're all here to help each other evolve, even the animals. He even has it. Like he came here knowing, you know,
technically she.
Yeah, you know, like, like we come here with our plan and purpose. So do they.
Okay, so you reminded me. That's such a beautiful story. For some reason, you were talking about earlier, and we've covered a lot of ground, but you were talking about a sort of maybe an experience you had where you had this understanding like there might not, the idea of good and evil.
Oh, yeah. My awakening I had.
Like an awakening. And it made me think of something that's very culturally misunderstood is I'm really, even though I'm not a religious person, I love the beginning of the Bible,
Genesis,
which is also, it said in the beginning of the Bible, which seemingly a lot of religious people ignore, God tells people to be vegan. It's on the first page of the Bible. There's a prescription from God of what we're supposed to eat, plants.
What does he say?
Yeah, actually on the first page of the Bible, it says and I give you every seed-bearing plant as your food.
Yes.
Kind of right there on first page. But one fascinating thing is this idea that there was a snake and he tempted Eve with an apple. It's actually not what happened. What Eve and Adam, again, on a figurative metaphoric level, they ate of the fruit of the knowledge of good and evil. They ate separation. They ate division. If you look at it metaphorically, and I find this so interesting, God didn't kick Adam and Eve out. Adam and Eve left. And God didn't say, how dare you? You did a terrible thing. He's like, okay, guess what? Now that you have embodied separation, you have to leave connection with the divine. Everything else is connected with the divine. Animals, insects, trees, they're still living in a state of grace. And we are not. And that helps me to understand the weirdness of humans, because you look at us and our behavior doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
That we kill each other, we kill ourselves, we kill the only home we have, we poison ourselves. We're so disconnected from the divine, whatever that might be. It's so interesting. People think of this Eve was weak, so she ate an apple. I was like, oh, no. It was humans who have separated themselves from the divine.
Yeah. But people love that story because, especially men, it empowers them to blame us for all the shit. And
Yeah, exactly. It's your fault. You ate the apple.
There's one other, just as a tangent, a really interesting aspect of the creation story. One, it follows exactly the story of the evolution of the universe. In the beginning, there was nothing, and there was a big bang. God created light, whoever God is, whatever light is. And then basically the origin of life in the creation story is exactly what followed on this planet. Things in the ocean, then things on land, and then lastly, humans.
Yeah.
So that's quite interesting. But there's one other aspect is God is defined as a multiple entity. When God creates humans, he says, oh, they're like us, describing God as a multiple being, as opposed to monotheism. It's just this one interesting line. I'm like, oh, that's kind of interesting that God identifies as a multi-part being.
Missed that one.
Along with God prescribing a vegan diet. So we might edit that part out because I'm just rambling like a crazy person.
I think, but something really interesting is I keep saying the word compassion, and it's the word I always think about, that we are lacking compassion. But I think what you're saying, and maybe the better word, is connection. We become so disconnected from how a pig feels, how a cow feels, how the dog on the chain feels, how
our neighbor feels,
feels, how the person right now in Ukraine feels.
Yeah.
Like how
the Russian soldier feels.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's right.
Like we are so disconnected from it because I think part of our brain feels like we have to, because just keeping this body feels like a lot of work. But I think it's kind of added nuance to my term of we lack compassion, because I also think that we don't have the same connection.
That's a great point.
Yeah. And what about this? What if, all of us are God? It's like you take a glass of water and then that's a cup of water, but then you stick your hand and you go sprinkle, 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 sprinkle. They're all little separate water drops doing their own thing, having their own lives, but they're still part of the whole, which is what I believe to be. And even in the Bible, and I'm not a big Bible person either, but there's 2 scriptures that says, have I not told you that you were gods? It tells you, and even Jesus says, you'll do greater things than I will. But then instead of doing that, we worship a being and put our victimhood into it. And it's a whole calamity, but
it's a calamity.
There's a lot of religious calamity out there.
A lot.
In terms of authors, teachers, leaders, who have you been inspired by?
I will say as far as like a book is concerned that changed the trajectory of my thinking, is a gentleman, I think it's Neil Donald Walsh. And he created these series of books called Conversations with God. It helped me come out of a deep programming that even though I wasn't religious, I dabbled and dabbled a little bit of everything. I've tried to, on my search, but I still had a very religious programming and this like, okay, that's God. He's judging me. He's mad at me. Oh, you made this happen in my life. Oh, this happened. You did it. You must have been mad at me. That's why that happened. Like being in a constant state of victimhood and never taking responsibility for anything in my reality that I didn't want to take responsibility for. I was living in Florida going through probably the first time I actually really experienced like real depression. And it's crazy because I had been so judgmental of people who would say, oh, I'm depressed or I'm going through depression. In my mind, I'm like, oh, that's just a choice. Like, I didn't understand it like that. Like, I had gone through, like, depressing stuff, but I never stayed in it long because I had so many distractions. This time, like, I'm in a city by myself, not knowing anybody, and I'm no friends, and job wasn't going well, and nothing was going right, and I started experiencing, like, real depression. I'm like, oh, God, that's what this is. I'm like, holy shit. But I lived across the street from a library and a beach, like, literally 30 steps, and I'm at the library. So I'm like, let me go in the library and read some books. And this book stuck out like a sore thumb. And in it, he's channeling something, like he's channeling God, and he's writing down all these conversations. And in it, God is having like he's hilarious. I'm like, I know God was funny, like God is hilarious, saying like really crazy stuff and all this acceptance. And I'm like, is this really you? Now, this is where I'm at this point in my journey. I'm like, is God funny? And I'm like having all these thoughts. And so it helped me kind of transition out of that judgmental deity and help me tap into something deeper within myself, which, obviously is leading me to where I'm at now, which will lead me to a deeper place later. But that was one of the most profound books that changed my life. And another one was Saved by the Light by Betty J. Eady. She had they say her near-death experience is one of the most profound because of every detail she remembered. And that book was life-changing for me as well because of her experiences. They were things that I had experienced in my dreams, talking to roses or water being conscious and alive and seeing colors I had never seen on the planet before. And so she's talking about all this stuff and I'm just like, oh my God. And it ended up leading me to I ended up having this experience during this deep depression. And I remember I went to the store with someone and there was like an octopus, wasn't huge, but it was medium-sized like octopus behind the counter that was for sale. And I was just like, ugh, that is like so gross. Even though I was eating squid at the time, but I was just, ugh, that's so gross. And I said, octopuses are so ugly. Like, why would God make an octopus? Like, they just look so weird. They got all these tentacles. And what is the purpose of an octopus? So that night I had probably the best dream I've ever had in my life. So in the dream, I feel like I'm like in Egypt or Rome or something. There's these pillars and I'm following this woman and she turns around and she's me. She has on like white and very angelic and she's telepathically telling me just to trust her and follow her. So I follow her to this really big like open water type pool and in it there's this octopus that his head was like the size of like this room. Mm-hmm. And he is looking at me like he knows me. And I'm like, I don't know you. And I'm terrified. And I'm looking at her like, are you trying to kill me? And she's like, just trust it. He just wants to come near you. So I get in the water and the octopus opens up his tentacles. And there's felt like it was millions of them. And when he touched me, I was filled with ecstasy. And that's not even the right word. I don't have the language to describe what it felt like. I remember in the dream, levitating and seeing all these colors that I had never seen before. And it was like fire and fireworks and colors. And I felt it in my hair and in my cells. And it was the most intense love. It was pure love, but it was so powerful. I felt like if I would have stayed in that dream another second, I would have died from ecstasy. It felt that good. And when I came out of the dream, I could still feel it. It wasn't like I woke up, it was like I was buzzing and tingles and chimes and bells. Like I could feel it. It was still on my body and it felt so good. And I was like, God, if this is what it feels like on this level of existence, then give it to everybody so we can just all snap out of it. Like, just don't give it to me. And what ended up happening, like I started making a bargain. Like the next day I was like, okay, God, if you give me this feeling like once a day, I won't have sex. I won't talk to a man. Like I won't do anything. Just give it to me like once a day. And I was like literally like a drug addict. Like I was like begging for the experience again. And it caused me to go into like depression, which is what this woman experienced too after her near-death experience. She went into a depression because she wanted to go back and she wanted to feel all that love and that connection. And I wanted to go back and feel the love and the connection. And I was doing all these I'm like, okay, once a month. Like, okay, you won't give it to me once a week. Give it to me once a month. And whatever you tell me to do, I will. But, you know, that's not how life works. But my mind at the time just was trying to bargain with whatever. So anyway, that book changed my life because I related to that experience, like going into depression because I wanted to feel that intense, powerful love again. So I know that was a long answer.
Oh, great. Thank you. We've talked about veganism. Lindsay,
Moby?
What's your favorite food? Gwen, I'm going to ask you this question as well. Like, just like enjoy for a minute telling me about your favorite meal, your favorite food.
Okay, I love food so much. I love it. I'm obsessed with it. But right now, all I can think about is the food I ate last night because it was so good and I dreamed about the food I had and it was lovely. There's this place near my house that has Mexican food that's vegan. And I went with our friend Asher Brown, who runs Pollution Studios, and we got every single taco that they had and we cut them in half and we did a taco sampler.
Do you mean every taco they had? So like
they only had six tacos.
Types of tacos. Okay, I thought you were saying that they had
we ordered every taco they had in the entire restaurant. No.
Yeah.
We ordered
They backed the dump truck of tacos up to the restaurant and like beep.
Yeah. And I was just like, yes. No, we tried one of every of their vegan tacos and the taquitos. And we cut them all in half and they were so delicious. I don't even know what they were made out of. I think there was one jackfruit thing. There was one like impossible thing. There was one I don't even know. But oh my God, they were all so good.
Okay.
And that's all. That's the only food I can think about right now because I'm still in taco jubilation.
I'm enjoying your story, but it also makes me sad because it's making me hungry. I'm like,
I'm visualizing it.
I realize that should have come with like a trigger warning. It's like now, why are there no tacos here right now?
I know.
Okay.
I would say my favorite food, there's two. It's hard to describe. Well, one is mushrooms. Batter them, bake them, saute them. If I had to be like stranded with like one food, it would be mushrooms. And then grits. I can't eat them all the time because they give me like heartburn and stuff. But every so often, some grits with some butter and salt. I don't do the sweet, but yeah.
When you say butter, like vegan butter.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Just want to make sure. I don't want you to get canceled.
I know, you're
all
right.
All of a sudden, the vegans are like, she eats butter. It's like vegan butter.
Charge.
Yeah, like Miyoko's butter or something.
Yes,
which is
the best. That is the best butter.
Miyoko's butter gave me hope in vegan dairy products.
Yeah,
because vegan dairy products sometimes aren't the best. But Miyoko's is so delicious. It's better than regular butter. It's better than dairy butter.
It is. It has such a nice flavor.
Oh my God, it's so
Her
good.
cheeses have like this pungent, like people that eat dairy cheese, they can enjoy it because it has that pungent sourness to it that people really like.
Ooh. Yeah, it's great.
and I like to sometimes put cheese in my grits when I'm having them.
Okay, so mushrooms in all of their forms and grits.
Yes.
Okay.
What about you? What's your favorite thing? Soups. He's a man of many soups.
At present, my favorite thing is conchiglie pasta. Like it looks like little
shells.
Little shelly scoop things.
Yeah.
With I saute tempeh And then I add, there's this kimchi that I love.
I love
where
kimchi.
it's like daikon, carrots, cabbage, cayenne, ginger, kimchi. And then I add that, olive oil, a little bit of toasted sesame seed, black sesame seeds.
Oh, you know how to do it right.
Yeah, and that is that. I gotta say it might sound strange, like pasta with tempeh, kimchi, and toasted black sesame seeds and olive oil, but it's very good.
The flavors, because you got that kimchi just, that's making my mouth water now just saying kimchi.
I know, this conversation is making me so hungry. I have to change the subject because I'm getting too hungry.
Okay, so then,
so I just have one final wrap up question-ish. So you've started some communities and ways that people can get active. Would you mind just kind of telling people how they can get involved with all the work that you're doing, whether it's if they live in Los Angeles or if they live anywhere?
Yeah, so my closest project that's close to my heart right now is the Vegans of LA Food Bank. And that was started last May. Actually, we just hit our 1-year anniversary, and we served up to, in the main food bank, a little over 400 people in 2 hours.
Wow.
And it's a beautiful thing because, again, like I said, we believe that food is a human right. And I know when I first came to Los Angeles, I said I went from abundance to poverty. I remember having $5 one week to eat with. And that was the scariest feeling I've ever had because I felt like I was just going to be pushed off the edge of the planet because it felt like no hope. If you can't provide your basic needs, it does diminish how you kind of manifest your reality in a sense. It really does. So if you can't feed yourself, it's like, how am I going to get this job? How am I going to really feel empowered if I can't even cover my own basic needs? And so the food bank is there for that reason, to help people cover their basic needs. Because, again, I don't believe that you should have to earn the privilege of eating healthy food. There should be free food access all over the world. Like I said, the planet already comes with it. So we should be able to provide that for one another. So that is every third Thursday of the month that we have the food bank from 8 to 10. So if people want to get involved, they can reach out to me at vegansoflosangeles_ or check out vegansofla.com, donate, or you can come and volunteer. We always need people to come and volunteer and help.
Is it 8 to 10 in the morning or in the evening?
8 to 10 in the morning.
Okay.
Yes, 8 to 10 in the morning. And in those 2 hours, like I said, we get over 400 people in that time. And like I said, it's really amazing because there's so much gratitude. I don't know if all food banks are like this, but I know the one that we do, it's absolutely amazing. It's just, buenos dias, good morning, thank you, God bless you, God bless you, thank you so much. The gratitude, because we try to make sure there's a nice amount of abundance. We have produce, we get donations from sometimes GTFO is vegan, Omni Foods donates, we've gotten stuff from Just Egg, Khalifa, Chobani. And then we have grains and nuts and walnuts and almonds and rice and beans. And so by the time a person gets to the end of the line, they're pretty loaded up. And I get high off of it because it's it helps heal the trauma in me from when I was going through my food insecurity. So to see people come and they're can't wait to get something, and they leave with all this stuff, I'm like, oh, you're going to eat good for the next couple of weeks. So I get I get a high off of it. Did I answer your question?
Did you say what your socials are?
Yeah, so Vegans of Los Angeles for the food bank _ Vegans of Los Angeles _ if you want to just hang out with me on my personal, Gwenna, the number 1. But yeah, those are my socials.
Amazing. That sounds so fun.
It is fun. We have a good time. It's very healing. If you need to a boost, you're feeling a little bit down. And I'm not saying this because it's you're going there and you're oh, I'm in a better position than them. It's not like that. It feels good
to be of service. It's very healing to be of service.
Yes, it feels good. You're not going there feeling sorry for anybody. We don't need that energy. You're not going there thinking, oh, these poor people. That's not it. The richness is the gratitude and the appreciation and the hope. So yeah, if you need a little boost in your own energy, come for that reason, because you'll leave feeling really good.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Well, one, thank you for being here. Two, thank you for being such a remarkable voice for animals and for humans and for the divine. We love your perspective, your openness about emotion and spirituality, your compassion. Honestly, just thank you so much for being you and for doing everything that you do.
Your fearlessness is incredibly meaningful.
Thank you. And thanks for having me. I was looking forward to this, so thank you so much.
Well, that was wonderful.
I mean, I want to just cry and also giggle.
One of the things I love about Gwenna's approach to animal rights and veganism and activism is the spiritual component, the sort of like the well-rounded spiritual component of course, she's very smart and it's academic and it's informed by evidence, but it also just feels emotional. And I'm trying to say this in a way that doesn't sound critical of other people, but it just seems like if you have a spiritual life, spirituality, no matter what the type of spirituality, should involve compassion for everyone and everything.
Yeah.
And I've DJ'd and gone to yoga retreats. And one thing that I found very disturbing is sometimes at the yoga retreat, there'll be meditation, and the meditation will involve everyone chanting, "May all beings be free from suffering." Mm-hmm. And then a lot of those people go and eat meat.
Yeah.
And I'm really like, it's so hard to not be judgmental, but how can you at 5 p.m., not you, but how can someone at 5 p.m. chant, "May all beings be free from suffering," and then at 5:30 p.m. go eat the dead bodies of beings who have suffered? Like, it's just so, I can't wrap my head around that, just that glaring dichotomous inconsistency.
Yeah, same. And I also have something I really love about Gwenna is how she lets her emotions be so present in her activism. I think a lot of people think that for their activism to be meaningful, they have to show bottom lines. They have to convince people that it just makes the most logical sense, that it's best for the animals or best for the environment, best for human beings. But she is so connected to the emotional side of it, which is just being really, really sad that the animals suffer the way that they do. And I think that I sometimes can't go into that because it always is kind of like a running theme in animal rights, is just like the horrific tragedy and like the large scale, impossibly large tragedy of how many animals are killed every single day for food, that I honestly can't let myself get emotional about it all the time. But I think she's reminded me that part of being an activist, no matter what version of activism you are engaging in, but especially in animal activism, connecting to the emotional side of it can not only be a beautiful release, but also be the thing that keeps you going when you start to lose energy or lose steam or lose focus.
I completely agree. And there's an authenticity there. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm not saying that the rest of us are disingenuous, but I almost feel like the vulnerability of sadness, the vulnerability of mourning, for some people, me especially, it's harder to connect with that in public. It's easier to connect with cynicism or data or anger. But the gentle vulnerability of letting yourself grieve openly, I find to be very primal and beautiful and inspiring. Mm-hmm. And also just our quick recap at the end, little reminder, I'll be doing my first DJ event in a very long time with the money going to Gwenna and her organization.
Yes.
And I'm just going to give a quick little recap of that. October 29th, Raul Campos and I DJing at Gold Diggers at 2 p.m. on a Sunday afternoon.
In Los Angeles.
$5 to get in, with all the money going to Gwenna's food bank. And she'll be there speaking. Do you want to say goodbye and thank you?
I do. People? I want to say Gwenna's information will be in the show notes of this podcast that you're listening to. So check that out. She's at vegansofla.com. That's where a bunch of information about the food bank will be. And then I want to thank Jonathan Nesvadba for editing this podcast like a masterful angel. And I also want to thank Human Content for putting this podcast out into the world and into your ears.
And we'll see you on October 29th, and we'll talk to you hopefully before then as well.
Yeah.